I want you for a moment to imagine going through a day where nobody looks you in the eyes. You wake up and nobody wishes you a good morning. You walk through the city and everybody ignores you or even avoids you. Sounds like a nightmare? It is. And yet, it is what we do to the many people that live on the streets of our cities. They go through many days without being acknowledged as a human being. This is my husband and me 3 years ago, and we moved from the Netherlands to San Francisco, so my husband could work for Google, because we're nerds. And so because I'm a nerd too, I was like, I'm going to find a really cool job in tech myself. But as you heard in the introduction, seeing what happens in San Francisco on the streets and coming from a quite socialist country was so shocking for me that not Silicon Valley, but the Tenderloin, the poorest neighborhood in San Francisco, became my new home. I started serving lunch at senior centers just to get in touch with the people on the streets. And I started teaching yoga and meditation, as you can see here, to underprivileged people in the Tenderloin. And I started also writing about my experiences, because I noticed that so many people were curious about what I was doing, but were afraid to engage themselves. So they wanted to learn through me. And I wonder, what do you experience when you see a homeless person on the street? Does it make you upset? Or have you become indifferent? Do you see them as a person, or do you see them as a problem? Do you have a feeling that you want to do something, but you really don't know what would be best? I'm here to tell you that there's a lot you can do, in big or in small ways. And my main way of contributing to this was through my writing. And I soon found that there were many more storytellers that wanted to use their storytelling skills to share the experiences of the people that live on the streets of our city. So I joined Stories Behind the Fog soon after I came here. And this is our mission. We want to humanize homelessness one story at a time, rendering the entire spectrum of homelessness so that you see the diversity of what's going on. And we're using this idea of stories behind the fog that is covering the city of San Francisco, because just as the fog is covering our view, the taboos that we have, the fears that we have, the judgments that we have around homelessness prevent us from seeing the people that have experience on the street for who they really are. So we're currently working towards those 100 stories, and we're only 5 stories away of reaching that, so it's getting really exciting now. And most of the stories you can already find online, but we're also working towards a beautiful coffee table book so that the people of the homeless outreach organizations that we work with can use a book as a fundraising tool to show the community that they work with on a daily basis. And this is a little preview of all of the beautiful people that we've met on the streets. So we so often see the homeless as this one homogeneous group, as the dark side of the American dream. And I want to share some of the incredible insights and people and stories that I've met and seen and learned about through my work with Stories Behind the Fog with you today. One of the things that amazed me is how much talent there is on the streets that we're missing out on. This is Gigi. She's a very creative, smart woman who struggled with homelessness and with mental illnesses. Only 4 years ago, she was a man and she was not comfortable in her body. And when she transitioned and became a woman, it was like she became a butterfly. She started tapping into her creativity again, and she's now on stage every week performing as her alter ego, Dr. Dream. She even has her own YouTube channel, so you can look her up. And the man you see here is Cyrus. Cyrus taught me that he learned the English language, he's from Iran, by reading Shakespeare. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I like this story. Cyrus is homeless on the street, and he has a lot on his mind, but he's very involved in politics. And he created this website, it's called whosaidso.org, for the elections in 2016. And he made an algorithm that compares the speeches of Trump and Clinton for all the important words to have a neutral side-by-side comparison on their standpoints. And he didn't stop there. He's now keeping track of the budget of Trump on his website, and I'm sure he has something in mind for the upcoming election too. This is Richard. Richard gets agitated quickly when we talk about politics, so I usually avoid it with him. He's in my yoga class, and he does that to stay sane because his life is very stressful on the streets. He also takes yoga because it's his mission to turn 100 years old, so he'll receive a letter from the president. Although he's very happy it's not going to be this president. And this is Couper. Couper had to retire as a firefighter because she got an injury on the job. But luckily after that, she met a beautiful woman, the love of her life, and got married. And she told me she was living a trophy wife life, driving her Audi to the streets of San Francisco. But then through a series of unfortunate events, she became homeless, alone on the streets. And this really opened her eyes, going from this luxurious trophy wife life to life on the streets. And she decided to use that experience. And she is now a tireless advocate for the homelessness, on a mission to become the mayor of San Francisco one day. And we really, really need people like her, because life on the streets is incredibly hard. This is Sophia. She's a mom of 3 kids. And she was abused as a child. And when her daughter went through the same experience, Sophia lost her mind. And because of that, her job and her home. She had to live in her car with her kids and knew that that was an unsustainable situation for her children. So she had to do the unthinkable and give her children to family and friends because she couldn't take care of them. She now lives in the laundry room of her ex-boyfriend and is dreaming about starting a sandwich shop one day because she believes food brings people together, and that's her mission. Another thing that I didn't realize before I started doing this is that a lot of the homelessness is not so visible as you would think. This is Charlene, and during her pregnancy, she was homeless, and she had a job at Facebook doing security. So she would sneak into conference rooms at night so she could sleep there and shower at Facebook. And luckily, through an amazing organization called the Prenatal Homeless, she got housing, so she's housed now with her kid. But it's hard to imagine that there are so many people going to their work or to their school and have no place to return to at night. So what are the solutions to all these things that are happening all around us? This is Nieves, and he has a lot of ideas about what can be done by both the government and by the rich people in the Bay Area. And one of his big things is that he thinks just getting people housed first and then take care of the rest is important. But there's one thing that frustrates him, and that is that the rich people in the government don't come to people like him to ask for solutions. So what happens now is that the affordable housing in San Francisco is twice as expensive as Nieves can afford himself. So if you happen to have, I don't know, Zuckerberg's phone number, let me know. Nieves would love to talk with him. What also became apparent when talking to these people is that there's not one cookie-cutter solution to what's going on our streets. Salvador told me that when he got housed, his drug abuse actually got so much worse because now he had a place where nobody would see what he was doing. So he told me, not housing, but community, knowing that you belong to a community, that people care about you, is actually the main trigger to get people off the streets. So I hope by now you see that homelessness is not an identity. It's not the only thing these people are. It's an experience that they're having. And by labeling them as homeless, we're missing out on so much talent, so much stories. So I really invite you to think about seeing a person on the street not as homeless, but as a fellow human being. Because who knows, they might be people like Cheryl. Cheryl used to be a head teacher, and then she had a really difficult year in which her mom passed away, her brother passed away, and she got bullied out of her building because tech people were flooding the city and she couldn't afford rent anymore. And because of that happened, and it was so shocking to her, she got a psychotic breakdown and ended up on the street not knowing who she was. Or they might be people like Ken. Ken is an engineer, and in the 80s, he developed one of the first laptops for Texas Instruments. His job was so stressful, however, that he got a heart attack twice in 2 years, and he made a radical decision. He decided to quit his job, stop using his medication, and enjoy the last part of his life because he believed he was going to die soon. That moment is now 24 years ago, and he's still here. And even though he doesn't have any money anymore, he's rich in life experience. And I hope by now you're thinking, so what could I do? What could I do to help these people that society is missing out on? I'm here to tell you that there's a lot you can do. And what I really believe is important in that is that you work from your own passion, from your own talents, from your own skills. So if you're really good at cooking, cook for your neighbors. If you're an activist, go out and protest. If you're really good with filling out forms, help people with that. Or if you're a storyteller like me, or like James here, that might be your way to go. For James, creating his graphic novels was a way out of homelessness and out of addiction, because he could focus and use his talents there. And his graphic novels are now on sale in San Francisco, and he's holding my favorite in his left hand, or what is it? I don't know. Up here, the Tenderloin Tale, using his experience in the Tenderloin, the poorest neighborhood in San Francisco, and share that with others. And he hopes that his novel will be turned into a movie one day. I want to close with the words of Sherry. Sherry spent 23 years of her life in prison for conspiracy for murder. And when she got out, she was in San Francisco and didn't know anyone. So she ended up on the streets. And when I asked Sherry what people like you and me on a daily basis could do to help homeless people, she said, don't stereotype people on the streets. Just treat them as your neighbor. Say hello to them, ask how they are doing, wish them a good day. Many of them are lonely, and some are about to give up. Your smile might be the one thing that makes a difference in someone's life. Thank you.